Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
What are the kind of basic principles of marketing that you think are relevant to this discussion?
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit about me. I'm pretty much your tried and true traditional story of libertarian who found his way through either Ron Paul, Rand Paul, or some variation of someone that is underneath that greater umbrella from the greater Tea Party movement. I remember 2008 watching Ron Paul go after Rudy Giuliani during the GOP debates, and I'm like, that sounds different. And that kind of planted that seed originally of thinking that maybe there's something beyond this greater GOP world. So, throughout my, next 10 years or so of going through and exploring politics, I find myself in this weird libertarian, conservatarian, greater liberty movement. And I found myself over the past 3 years of doing the Brian Nichols Show, as I've discussed all these, happenings and news and events and stuff and greater liberty politics with, the movers and shakers of the movement over the past, I would say 6 months or so, I've really found myself getting cozy in the niche that I find myself for my day job, which you alluded to, and that's in sales and marketing and trying to reach your average person and instill some value. Because I think at the end of the day, one of the bigger problems that we've had as a greater movement has been, well, we really have great ideas, but we can't communicate them to an average person to leave them feeling like, oh, these people have more to talk about than just bumper sticker slogans, which unfortunately has become, it's synonymous with a lot of libertarian or conservatarian politics. And we need to get beyond that and be able to talk about the real issues to people where it matters most. So you ask, what's the fundamental, basics of marketing sales 101? And really, it first and foremost begins with the who you're talking to. Know your market, right? So I'd say one of the greater issues with the liberty movement by and large has been not really knowing who we're going after, right? We kind of seem to, the analogy, if you were to look at shooting a shotgun versus a sniper, right? We seem to do a lot of shotgun shells trying to scatter our shot across the notion of the political landscape. But really, we need to start, being sharpshooters and looking to focus on issues that not only are issues that people really care about, but number two, issues that are strongly, overtly pro-liberty, pro-libertarian. So, looking at it right now, I'd say the number one meeting people where they're at, lockdowns, right? Like the economic lockdowns in response from the government to the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, that's really been the number one issue that I think has been sorely lacked from a response from the greater liberty movement. You have some folks more in the Republican conservative movement who have taken this argument of ending the lockdowns or being anti-lockdown, which I think we've really missed the opportunity to lead that forward. But then after you're able to talk about the issues that people care about, it's trying to pique their interest, right? How do you meet them, number one, where they're at, but number two, actually get them to say, okay, tell me more, right? And this has been one of the biggest problems, I think, where a lot of libertarians lose folks. We start out and we say, here's the book, and name the book, whatever your book, it's Rothbard, Hazlitt, Friedman, I don't care, right? And you throw that book at them, and you say, read this, get back to me in a couple days, and you will be the best libertarian out there. And after that, I'll give you some more books, and you'll become an even better libertarian. You can't educate people to death on liberty. It's not how it works. We have to, again, go for the specific issues, and let's talk about the lockdowns, right? You can make it a specific issue for a locality's response to the lockdowns. What's been the homeless increase in your community? How has that been impacting your community, your businesses? How have the people in your community been able to live, get food? Let's go and talk about those specific issues, and then get them to say, okay, well, what's your answer, right? And that's where we have to create value. And we have to show that we're serious in offering the solutions that we talk about day in and day out in all of our little group chats and such. We have to actually show that what we're talking about can actually work. So we have to bring people who are not just the activists, but also people who are legitimate elected official contenders, people who want to be part of this game that we have to play right now if we want to see anything get better. And we have to actually get people into office who are going to get these policies that we talk about day in and day out into action to show that this stuff actually, it matters. It will help your average person. Now, that's a long answer, right? To say, from step 1 to step 10 in the sales cycle, but really it does come down to these three underlying principles. Number one, meet people where they're at. Number two, you have to pique interest. Number two, create value. And the way that we do this, right, is not by going through and just talking people to death. We have to start in by kind of what I found myself doing, Brad. And this is like, that's how I'll wrap up this little thought process. Is this is how my show started. I started doing my show as an interviewer, asking people questions, because I found myself in this greater liberty movement, and I wanted just to learn as much as I could, to be a sponge and talk to people. But as I'm asking questions, I'm finding that we're finding a lot of solutions to the problems we see out there, but we need to be able to ask the people that we're talking to the questions to get them to tell us what matters to them, right? So instead of going in guns a-blazing and saying, we know what you care about and we're going to fix it all for you, we have to go in and say, tell me what's wrong. What's up with your community? What's wrong? What's been something that's been your bed bug, air quote, issue? And I say bed bug issue, the issue that really bothers them. And once we can solve that bed bug issue, we now become the trusted advisors to them. And that's the underlying principle of everything, whether it's politics, sales, is trust. We have to build trust. Right now, we don't really have much of a track record to look back at and say, here's this foundation bedrock of trust that we've established. No, we have to actually start cultivating that. I believe we do that through going more of a local approach, focusing on, not these big federal elections all the time, but when we do these federal elections, let's have somebody, to the point we've had when you on my show, let's have somebody who's actually a credible person who will get people to actually ask some more questions. So that's kind of the long and short of this sales. Now we're trying to apply it to politics. It is a little different because there's no product you're selling, and it's tough to get a KPI to measure. Are you measuring votes? Are you measuring policy? So we have a difficult way of saying, are we being successful? And I'm looking to try to get it so we can say, yes, we have policy, yes, we have electoral wins, and we'll see it, by and large, this kind of, upward trailing slope of positive liberty wins across the board.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.
Enjoy